Good evening. Welcome to the June 16th, 2021 Planning Commission regularly scheduled meeting. I'm Steve Jones, the chair of the Calvert County Planning Commission. I call the meeting to order. I will now take roll call. Vice Chair Maria Bueller.
Here.
Commissioner Greg Kernan.
Here.
Commissioner Dr. Richard Holler.
Here.
Commissioner John Toohey.
Here.
Commissioner Lisa Williams.
Here.
Commissioner Wilson Freeland.
Here.
Welcome, commissioners. Sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Commissioner. This is Paul Conover, Planning Commission Administrator for tonight's meeting. Item number 2 is recognition of persons attending this meeting. First, I'd like to welcome from the County Planning and Zoning Department, Mary Beth Cook, the Director, Jenny Plummer-Welkler, AICP and for Long Range Planning, Christine Finnemore, Principal Planner, Olivia Vedado, Planner 3, and Judy Holt, our Planner 2. Also attending from the Calvert County Parks and Recreation Department is Director Shannon Nozal, and from the Department of Public Works, Jason Levitt. Also in attendance with us are John Mattingly providing legal counsel, Becky Parkinson serving as recording clerk, and serving as moderator, Christine Finnemore. Item number 3, Commissioners, is action on proposed agenda.
Do I have any changes on the proposed agenda? I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, motion to approve this evening's agenda.
Motion by Commissioner Kernan. Second by Commissioner Toohey. Vice Chair Bueller.
Yes.
Commissioner Kernan.
Yes.
Commissioner Holler.
Yes.
Commissioner Toohey.
Yes.
Mr. Williams.
Yeah.
Commissioner Freeland.
Yes.
Motion carries. We will, I will go, Mr. Conover, I'm going to roll right into action of minutes. We have 2 things to take care of. We have 2 sets. We have, the first set is on the Planning Commission public hearing on the minutes. Do I have any changes that need to be made on the minutes from last meeting? I'll entertain a motion.
I would move we accept the minutes of the special hearing.
It'll be the public hearing, sir.
Public hearing, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Toohey. You have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Kernan. Vice Chair Bueller.
Yes.
Commissioner Kernan.
Yes.
Commissioner Holler.
Yes.
Commissioner Toohey.
Yes.
Commissioner Williams.
Yes.
And Commissioner Freeland.
Yes.
Motion carries. The second motion is on the Planning Commission regular meeting minutes from May 19th, 2021. Any changes? Entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Commissioner Kernan, motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Toohey. Vice Chair Bueller.
Yes.
Commissioner Kernan.
Yes.
Commissioner Holler.
Yes.
Commissioner Toohey.
Yes.
Commissioner Williams.
Yes.
And Commissioner Freeland.
Yes.
Motion carries. Mr. Conover.
Thank you, Commissioner. Item 5 are town center architectural actions. There are none this evening. Moving on to item 6, major subdivisions for final actions. There are none to review today. Moving on to item 7, applications for site plan review. There's 2 items. The first will start with 7A, CSPR 138179, Lesbian self-storage. Presenting is Principal Planner Christine Finnemore. Christine?
Good evening, Paul. Thank you.
We can see your screen.
There we go. Good evening, Planning Commissioners. My name is Christine Finnemore, Principal Planner with the Department of Planning and Zoning. I'll be presenting the conceptual site plan for the project CSPR 138179, Lesbian self-storage to you this evening. The Lesbian self-storage project is located at 12020 H.G. Truman Road, tax map 42, parcel 366. The parcel is 5.66 acres with frontage on H.G. Truman Road, also known as Maryland 765. You can see the site here on the tax map. Here you see the 2020 aerial photography of the surrounding area. The site is outlined in bright yellow. The Lesbian Town Center is outlined in orange. You see Maryland 24, here's Maryland 765, and Rousby Hall Road. The property is zoned TC, Lesbian Town Center, and is located in the Village Edge subarea. The proposed development is for a self-storage facility with a total building square footage of 57,180 square feet, which includes the larger building comprised of 40,630 square feet. You see that here. The conceptual site plan was accepted by the technical evaluation group in February of 2021. This staff report is based on plan number 2 and any comments received as of June 1st, 2021. The conceptual site plan has been reviewed for compliance with the Calvert County Comprehensive Plan, the Calvert County Zoning Ordinance as amended, the Lesbian Town Center Zoning Ordinance as amended, and other applicable ordinances. The staff report includes a summary of the major project aspects. The use received a special exception from the Board of Appeals in November 2020. The Board of Appeals order is included in the attachments to the agenda. Parcel 366 is 5.666 acres in size, of which 4.74 acres is proposed to be disturbed for the site development. There's a 35-foot building setback from Maryland 765 and a 20-foot setback from the rear and side property lines. Parking areas must be set back at least 20 feet from the side and rear property lines and 35 feet from the front property line. Vehicular access is proposed via 2 access points onto H.G. Truman Road. The Calvert County Zoning Ordinance requires a minimum of 4 parking spaces. There are 4 total parking spaces provided, and that's where you see here, including one that is compliant with the Americans with Disabilities Act, or ADA as it's known. Landscaping and lighting. Landscaping must meet requirements found in the Lesbian Town Center Ordinance, as well as the county zoning ordinance, as well as stormwater management requirements. Landscaping plan will be reviewed as part of the detailed site development plan. A photometric plan will also be reviewed by planning staff as part of the detailed site development plan to ensure that outdoor lighting for the building, parking areas, pedestrian accesses have adequate lighting for public safety purposes. And that's in accordance with section 6-6 and dark sky friendly requirements. Adequate public facilities. Traffic, the project is not subject to adequate public facilities for traffic, as it will generate less than 400 trips per day. A traffic impact analysis was approved in June of this year by the Department of Public Works. Obviously, schools, adequate public facilities is not applicable. This is not a residential use proposed. The project proposes to tie into existing public water facilities, and the project is proposing to construct and utilize an on-site private septic recovery area for sewer. Here on the site, you will see an area, it's actually proposed as forest retention. There's a stream that clips the back of the property and stream buffer. There's no anticipated or proposed impacts shown at this time. So this is an area to be saved, and it's the stream and stream buffer. Property is subject to forest conservation requirements. Forest conservation plan is currently under review by the environmental planner and must be approved prior to final site plan approval. The proposed development has received conceptual stormwater management plan approval from the Department of Public Works. Here you'll see the building elevations, and this is the larger building elevation shown. The project is located within the Lesbian Town Center, therefore it requires Architectural Review Committee review and approval. Building elevations and elements such as retaining walls, fences, lighting, outdoor construction, signage are all required to be approved. Architectural Review Committee review and approval is required. And this is done at the time of detailed site development plan. The Planning Commission did review this site earlier in the year, and it was for the length of the building facade, if you guys recall, in April. And that comes from the Lesbian Town Center Ordinance, section 5-205. Here is the view from Maryland 765 across the front of the proposed site layout. The architectural elements shown here are not yet approved, and they're shown really just to show the site perspective. For example, here is a monument sign, but this has not yet received approval, but it's shown here for perspective. This would be H.D. Truman Road. This is one side entrance, and this is the other side entrance. At this time, staff recommends, or staff certifies to the Planning Commission that the conceptual site plan is consistent with the Calvert County Comprehensive Plan and in basic compliance with the Calvert County Zoning Ordinance as amended, the Lesbian Town Center Master Plan and Zoning Ordinance as amended, and all other applicable state and local ordinances and regulations. The remaining comments that need to be addressed prior to detailed site development plan approval are technical and should not alter the design layout or functionality of the plan. Staff recommends approval of Cspr 138179 Lesbian self-storage, subject to the 5 conditions found in the staff report. At this time, the Planning Commission may consider one of the following options: approval with staff recommended conditions as listed, approval with modification to the conditions, deferral if the Planning Commission requires additional information, or denial of the project. This concludes my presentation. I will mention at this time that the applicant and their engineer are on the meeting and are able to answer any questions. Chairman Jones, if you have any questions at this time, either from me or from the applicant, I'm happy to answer.
Dean, thank you. I appreciate your presentation. The question that I have is, did I hear you say that this is still pending architectural review? Did I hear you say that?
Yes, sir. So of course, architectural review requirements apply because the property is found in the Lesbian Town Center, and the detailed architectural review and approval will occur with the detailed site development plan. They did come before the Planning Commission for the building facade length in April. So you have seen it, but the architectural review approval has not occurred.
I guess this would be aesthetics. This will be visual things, but it won't be a structural issue that architectural review is involved in, correct?
What they still need to get approval for is the normal everyday architectural review that for any project. The building facade length is one that is not normally seen. And that's why you saw it prior to seeing the conceptual site plan that you see here. If that makes any sense.
It does. And perhaps, and I'm sorry to the commissioners, just bear with me just a second. If I could get some clarity on when are we anticipating to have architectural review approval, or at least is that scheduled?
So the next step after the conceptual site plan, which is what you see here, would be the detailed site development plan. And that's when architectural review would occur. The applicants may have a better idea of the timing of when they would submit, if they have not yet submitted the architectural review packages to staff.
Commissioner Jones, this is Paul. Normally, architectural reviews are funneled through me after they've gone through the town center committees, and I review them and sign them and comment them on behalf of the Planning Commission. Is this something that you would like to see go to the Planning Commission?
I would. Does that make sense?
Yes.
My apologies for indulging. Thank you, commissioners. Do I have any other questions or comments from any of the other commissioners? or from,
Mr. Chairman, if I could, I have a question.
yes, sir.
Christine, in a memo from you dated March 18th, 2021, item number 6 refers to an easement covering sidewalk and planting strip conveyed to the county. What's the purpose of that easement?
That would probably be in my last comment memo, Wilson.
I have the date on my notes. I think it is.
I'm pulling it out. It's across the front of the property, and and it's still under review, and would be reviewed with the detailed site plan. Across the front, of course, is a sidewalk, a utility easement, and possible road frontage improvements associated with those 2 entrances, as well as planting. So figuring out which goes where and making sure things aren't on top of each other is part of the review.
Does that commit the county to maintaining the sidewalk or the planting strip?
If it ends up within the right of way, then I guess it does. I think we're trying to have it across the front of the property versus within the right of way, which actually would be it's a state road. So I don't know that I have a straightforward answer to your question, but I could get you a better answer.
So we do have a sidewalk ordinance in place, do we not?
We do. And when I see it's a combination, I believe, of more so public works than planning and zoning. There's sidewalk policy.
Yeah, I just, I take issue with the possibility of the county having to maintain that section of sidewalk, if that is what the easement.
My understanding is it would either be the property owner or the state, but in this case, I don't believe it would be the state. Meaning the state, it's a state road. They front on H.D. Truman Road, which is a state right of way.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Freeland, good question. Christine, can the applicant answer that question about the sidewalk?
I know I saw.
Chime in. I do believe that that's within the DOT right of way, which would be part of the state. However, anything outside of that right of way would be our property owner's responsibility.
Sir, please identify yourself.
This is Ian Andres with Arco Design Build. We're the contractor on this project.
Thank you.
So, sir, what I'm hearing you say is that it's either a state or it's going to be property maintained, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Commissioner Freeland, does that answer your question, sir?
Yeah, it just makes me wonder why the county needs an easement.
I tell you, if we could drill down, we have an answer, but I don't know that we have an answer. But Commissioner Freeland, I know exactly where you're heading with this. And I think you're on to something. I think we need to drill down on that maybe a little bit further, if we could, Christine, just get a little more clarity on that to make sure that the county's not picking up the tab for those sidewalks. Is that what you're getting at, Commissioner Freeland?
Yes, sir.
Could we do that, Christine? Maybe get some follow up on that.
I will absolutely make sure I follow up with the Planning Commission on, in general, a situation like this, but specifically to this project. Okay. And if it means coming back to you with a quick presentation, we can absolutely do that.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Is there another possibility? Could we add a 6th condition to include all of this so that Christine and them don't have to bring this back to us?
Yes, sir.
I would prefer that, if that's agreeable to everyone.
Sorry, this is Paul. If I could ask Commissioner Kernan, when you say all of this, what are you referring to?
Well, the comments made by Wilson and Chairman Jones about the sidewalk, who's going to be responsible for it, and the easement. I think that needs to be clarified or drilled down on and then decided on. So if that can happen prior to approval, then I think we should go ahead and deal with it now.
Is
Thank
that a motion?
It can be, I mean.
Commissioner Jones, I'm sorry to interrupt. This is Paul. If I could interrupt, Commissioner Jones.
Yes, sir.
Going back to the architectural review, the planning commission may add an additional condition that the architectural review be reviewed by the planning commission. That would make a total of 7 conditions.
I would like that added.
And we do have one hand raised from Mr. Mattingly.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that this will be coming back in front of you. So
Okay.
whatever you want to have done, I don't even know necessarily that you need to have a motion for it. This can be direction to staff, and any commission member can express to staff what they need to see before it comes back in front of this board.
Okay, so we have 2 issues. We have my issue, and we also have the second issue, Commissioner Freeland. We want some clarity on who's going to maintain the sidewalk, and I would like the architectural review. But I guess my question is, and when I don't want to hold a project up, I don't want to hold anything up for anyone.
Right.
I believe it's a good project, but at the same time, that goes back to my original question: when is architectural review supposed to take place?
Mr. Chair, this is Carolyn Sunderland. I can answer that.
Carolyn, we can't hear you. A little hard to hear you.
This is Jenny Plummer-Welker. Perhaps I could answer for Carolyn. Chairman, the architecture review is required prior to final site plan approval.
Yes.
So at some point, when the applicant is ready to go to the architectural review committee, they'll submit their architectural review application, and it must be submitted and approved prior to site plan approval.
Okay,
Would I be able to chime in as well, if you don't mind?
please.
Please
So
state
we
your
have
name.
already been working with-
Please state your name.
Sorry, this is Ian Andres with Arco Design Build. Just chiming in, so we had already been working with Ms. Gaetano and the Architectural Review Committee. We've submitted our plans a couple months ago, and that was prior to getting approval for the building facade. And so everything is underway. Like was mentioned previously, we're just waiting for the detailed site plan, which would be in about a month or 2 when we would go for final approval.
I'm satisfied with that answer. That answers my question. So Mr. Conover, I'm going to retract the 7th issue. Let's go forward with Commissioner Freeland's issue of the sidewalk approval. So I want some clarity on that. I think that's fair.
Mr. Chair, this
Yeah.
is Carolyn Sunderland again. I hope you can hear me, but I just wanted to also point out that while we will get you clarification on that, this site will require an entrance permit from the state highway, and they generally will cover that issue of maintenance as part of prior to them issuing a entrance permit for the site. And sometimes that takes a while during the development review process, but we will contact them ahead of time and let you know.
Carolyn, that stands to reason, but the question is, why is there an easement to the county required?
I would say it's for trees, perhaps, if they are not in the right of way. Street lights and street trees.
And I thank you, Carolyn, for pointing out that the state highway would be issuing entrance permits or entrance permit. I think between that, and that's a very technical review on their part, I think between that and our technical review, as well as that of Public Works, it will shed some light on exactly what that road frontage looks like before state highway can issue entrance permits, Wilson.
Correct. And we can also look at the profiles. It looks to me that the landscaping along the frontage is outside of the right of way. So I would imagine, since that is a required element, that staff has asked for a maintenance agreement.
Commissioner Jones, we do have one hand raised for comment.
Please, that's Lena, I believe. Go ahead and. I guess go ahead and let Lena in.
Yep, Lana, you can begin speaking. Just please state your name before you begin. We see that you're unmuted, but we cannot hear you, Lana.
Clement, can you hear me now?
Very faintly.
Okay, I'll try to talk into the mic. I was just going to add that there was some email correspondence about this comment, and we did confirm with the state highway that they would maintain that sidewalk, and it will be within the dedicated right of way.
Okay. Commissioner.
Lana, is that part of their review comments? This is Chris Fenimore.
It was not part of their comments, but they have not seen the access permit yet. We plan on submitting that in the next couple of weeks, but we have corresponded with them about the frontage improvements and the proposed sidewalk.
Okay.
Any other comments?
There are no other hand raised, Commissioner Jones.
Any other questions from commissioners? Commissioner Freeland, I don't want to dump this on your lap, but I'll entertain a motion from you, sir.
I would move to approve with staff recommended conditions as listed above, but I would like for staff to look into the easement issue that's come up.
Motion from Commissioner Freeland. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Tui. Vice Chair Bueller.
Yes.
Commissioner Kernan.
Yes.
Commissioner Holler.
Yes.
Commissioner Tui.
Yes.
Commissioner Williams.
Yes.
Commissioner Freeland.
Yeah.
Motion carries. Thank you, folks, very much. That was a little bit to it. Thank you. Mr. Conover.
Thank you, Commissioner. Moving on to item 7B, which is CSPR 138241, a winter operations facility in the south side. Presenting tonight are Christine Fenimore from Planning and Zoning and Jason Levitt from the Department of Public Works. Christine or Jason?
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, commissioners. Good evening. I am Christine Fenimore, Principal Planner with the Department of Planning and Zoning, and I'll be presenting the conceptual site plan to you this evening for the County Capital Improvements Project known as the Winter Operations Facility South, CSPR 138241. The Winter Operations Facility South, we've been calling it the WF, is located on the west side of Maryland 24, on tax map 42, parcel 424, and near the future site of the Dominion Energy Regional Park. And you can see the parcel here, and the arrow is pretty much pointing to where the site is. The parcel is 48.28 acres total, with frontage on Maryland 24 and access at the signalized intersection of Cove Point Road and Maryland 24. This map shows the 2020 aerial photography of the surrounding area, and the property is outlined in bright yellow. The Lesbian Town Center limits are outlined in orange. And as you can see, Maryland 24, this is Cove Point Road, the Appeal Convenience Center, and the Chesapeake Hills Golf Course. The property is zoned RCD, Rural Community District. The property is adjacent to the future Dominion Energy Regional Park to the west, the Appeal Convenience Center to the south, and an undeveloped property to the north. Here's the conceptual site plan, and it includes site improvements as well as the following building square footages. 5,280 square feet for a salt storage building here in the middle. A little over 2,000 square feet for equipment storage here. About 2,400 square feet for building material storage here, for a total of 9,778 square feet of building square footage. The conceptual site plan was accepted by the technical evaluation group in April of 2021. This staff report is based on plan number 1 and any comments received as of May 28th. The conceptual site plan has been reviewed for compliance with the Calvert County Comprehensive Plan, the Calvert County Zoning Ordinance, as amended, and other applicable ordinances. The staff report includes a summary of the major project aspects. Parcel 424, again, is 48.28 acres in size, and approximately 2.37 acres will be disturbed for construction for this project. There's a 100-foot building and use setback from Maryland 2-4, a 50-foot setback from rear and side property lines. There's a 20-foot setback for parking from the side and rear property lines, and 35-foot setback from the front property line for parking. Vehicular access to the facility is via the existing signalized entrance at Cove Point Road and Maryland 2-4, which you see here, which provides a safe ingress and egress. And this here is existing entrance into the property. There are 4 parking spaces required for the uses proposed. There's 9 parking spaces provided on the site plan, including 1 space that does meet the requirements for the Americans with Disabilities Act, also known as ADA. Landscaping is proposed for the project in order to meet the requirements of the county zoning ordinance, as well as stormwater management requirements. A landscaping plan will be reviewed as part of the detailed site development plan. Screening from proposed use shall be accommodated with a split face block wall along the northern property frontage. And it's more the northern end of this site plan. So split face here, of course, a gate, and then again over here. A photometric plan is required and will be reviewed by planning staff as part of the detailed site development plan to ensure that all outdoor lighting for the building, parking area, pedestrian accesses have adequate lighting for public safety purposes. And that's in accordance with the zoning ordinance section 6-6 and dark sky friendly requirements. The project is not subject to adequate public facilities ordinance regulations, as it will generate less than 400 trips per day. A traffic impact analysis for roads was approved in May of 2021 by the Department of Public Works. The project is non-residential in use, therefore it does not have to comply with APFO requirements for schools. And the project at this time does not require water or sewer facilities. The operations facility is proposed to be constructed entirely within the envelope of the previous use. There's no clearing anticipated, and there's no proposed environmental impacts. The subject property previously addressed forest conservation requirements with on-site long-term retention of existing forest, and that's in the form of recorded forest retention area. The proposed development has received conceptual stormwater management approval from the Department of Public Works. Here you'll see the building elevations for the salt barn, which was the larger building in the middle of the proposed improvements. And this slide shows the building elevations for the equipment and storage sheds. No architectural review committee review or approval is required based on the property location and zoning. This property is outside the town center and it's not within rural commercial zoning. So at this time, staff certifies to the Planning Commission that the conceptual site plan is consistent with the Calvert County Comprehensive Plan and in basic compliance with the Calvert County Zoning Ordinance as amended and all other applicable state and local ordinances and regulations. The remaining comments that need to be addressed prior to detailed site development plan approval are technical in nature and should not alter the design layout or functionality of the site plan. Staff recommends approval of the Cspr 138241 Winter Operations Facility South subject to the following 5 conditions that are found in the staff report. The Planning Commission at this time may consider one of the following options, including approval with the staff recommended conditions, approval with modification to the conditions recommended by staff, deferral if the Planning Commission requires additional information prior to action, or denial. At this time, this concludes my presentation. As Paul mentioned, Jason Levitt with the Department of Public Works, as well as Joe Kajeski with Collinson, Olaf, and Associates are present at this meeting and are available to answer any questions. Chairman Jones, do you have any questions at this time, either of staff or for Public Works or the engineer? I'd be happy to entertain.
Just to orient myself, this is the old laydown yard from Dominion Cove Point, I assume, that was donated to the county, correct?
Yes, sir. This is on a portion of that property.
Hey, excuse me, but that's not really correct. That prop was acquired. It was used by Dominion, but the county owned it prior to that.
Okay, and what about, so just to orient myself, so this is basically going to be a storage area for storage of things. And at some point there's talk of a park on it, correct?
To answer your question, Chairman Jones, the future park consists of the parcel that's highlighted on the screen, as well as 2 other parcels you see here. And the area that we're looking at is this area here, right where my laser pointer is.
Got it. Okay. Got it.
Does that help?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Commissioners, any questions from any of the commissioners?
I've got a question for Jason. Jason, are you comfortable with your turning radiuses around this facility for loading in and loading out?
Yes, sir. This is Jason Levitt with the Department of Public Works. But to answer your question, Mr. Freeland, yes, we basically laid this out under the direction of our project management staff and the highway staff. And it's my understanding that we're going to be utilizing mostly dump trucks for the delivery of salt. So that basically we shouldn't really have any issue with circulation on the site.
So there'll be no tractor trailer deliveries to this site?
That is my understanding.
And the second question, is there going to be a brine station here as well? I don't see anything on the site plan.
That's in the future plans possibly, but it's not, you're correct, it's not proposed with this particular plan.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Levitt, you said that's in the brine thing is in the future. Where would that be located? Would it be on this particular parcel or would it be somewhere else?
It will definitely be on this particular parcel. I believe, and don't quote me on this, but I believe it's going to be in the bulk storage shed on the right-hand side of the picture as you see it now.
Thank you.
Correct.
Got it. Any other questions, commissioners? Do we have anyone on hold to make public comment? Any hands raised?
Commissioner Jones, I don't see any hands raised at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Conover. I'll entertain a motion from the commissioners.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to move that we approve with staff recommended conditions as listed.
Motion by Commissioner Tui. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Freeland, correct?
Yes.
Second by Commissioner Freeland. Vice Chair Bueller.
Yes.
Commissioner Kernan.
Yes.
Commissioner Holler.
Yes.
Mr. Tui.
Yes.
Mr. Williams.
Yes.
Commissioner Freeland.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you very much, Mr. Conover.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Commissioner.
Chairman Jones. Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you very much. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Christine, I'll turn moderating duties back over to you.
Sure.
Okay. Moving on to item 8, Commissioners, major subdivision applications for preliminary action. Presenting tonight is Olivia Vedado, and she'll be presenting SD 138121 Rebecca's Fields, lot 1 through 14. Olivia?
Thank you, Paul. Good evening, Commissioners. It's great to see everybody as always. My name is Olivia Vidato. I am with the Department of Planning and Zoning in the Development Review section. So tonight, let me share my screen here for you. And just tell me if you can see that, please.
Not yet.
Coming up.
There you go.
All right, very good. Thank you. So this is the preliminary plan for Rebecca's Field. If you remember last month, it came before you for the SB 236 bill requirements for a major subdivision within the Tier 4 mapping, which did get approved in May. The site is located at the northern part of the intersection of Cox Road and Maryland Route 4 in Huntingtown. And as I go through this, you can see better on the aerial. It is right to the south of where Huntingtown High School is. That is the Huntingtown High School right behind it, very close to the intersection of Route 4, like I said. This is the preliminary plan, but I'm going to give you a better, pretty one. It's a little bit bigger. So I will go ahead and start the presentation. So the site is comprised of 51.05 acres, which has 45.7 acres of that zoned rural community district, which is RCD, and 5.3 acres of residential district, which is RD. The whole entire parcel is located within the 1 mile radius of the Huntingtown Town Center. As I stated before, this did come before you last month in May for the Tier 3 mapping requirements of major subdivisions within a Tier 3 that did get approved by the Planning Commission, that it met all the criteria that was set forth by law. Currently, there are several structures that are on the property. There are 2 barns. One is near the entrance of Patriot Lane. One's located in the front of Lot 7. And on Lot 12, there is a wooden deck. Not really sure about that one, but all of the structures are to be removed and they will be documented by the historic planner. The property consists of open fields on the southern portion of the property with wetlands, steep slopes, and woodlands along the center portion. And you can see the colored part of this shows the conservation open space along with the northern piece that will be a residue. The green areas are forest retention area with the front patches along Cox Road. They are front roadway buffer. They will be planted and part of a easement that goes on that for no cut, no clear as well. So the RCD portion of the property actually has 45 lots permitted because of the town center, and the RD zoning actually allows 21 lots permitted because of receiving area, because both of those zones, the entire parcel is within the 1 mile radius of the Huntingtown Town Center. They are proposing 14 lots total. That will be 10 receiving area lots and the 4 conventional lots that they have. A public right-of-way is proposed for lots 1 through 9, which is on the eastern side of the parcel, with a private lane on the western portion to serve lots 10 through 14. I am just going to go through the more site-specific conditions and not the general conditions that we usually have. So as I stated earlier, this did get approval through the public hearing in May for the SB 236. It's the 2012 Law of Maryland for the Sustainable Growth and Agricultural Preservation Act of 2012 that will be noted on the final plat. If you go to item number 7, it's a clustered subdivision within the town center. It's required to have 30% of the site to be platted as open space. Because of the acreage, 51.058 acres, they are platting a 19.662 acres of residue. That leaves 31.396 acres for development, which requires 9.418 acres of open space to be provided. They are providing 9.525 acres, so they exceed that open space requirement. Condition number 9, I already talked about the front roadway buffer requirement. It's 100 foot, and they will be required to submit a cost estimate and improvement plan with the final plat submittal, which will get approved before final plat approval. Item number 10 They're meeting the focal point requirement with the existing cemetery that was requested by the owner, who is the developer. This shall be noted along the final plat, and I will touch on other conditions as I go through this report about that. I would like to quickly bring up, it was questioned at the last meeting about the ownership of that parcel. At this time, the developer is speaking with people who are heirs of the people that are actually in the cemetery. They have been taking care of this for a while. So this will be deeded to them if they choose to accept it. I do believe that there's some concern because of their age. How much longer will they be able to take care of it? If they do not want to accept that parcel, it will be part of the homeowners association's responsibility and area that they will have to take care of. We've had different situations with cemeteries in the past. If you recall, a few months ago on Bowen's Pride, that one, they actually included it in a lot, so it became that homeowners, it will be their responsibility. In Oakland Hall, which dates back a while, there's a cemetery. That one is actually turned over to the homeowners association, and it's very nice. They take very good care of it. So at the end of the day, there will be somebody who will be responsible for this area. So I know it was questioned at the last meeting. I just wanted to touch on that real quick. Condition number 12, the road name of Patriot Lane for the public right-of-way and Dustin's Lane for the private lane can be approved. Item number 15, there is a residue on here. It does have future development potential. The residue has access from Cox Road. There are a great amount, as you can see when you look at the plan, areas of wetlands buffer and steep slopes that come through there that may make this cost prohibitive to develop that. At this time, we don't know what the plans are for that residue, but there will be notes on the final plat regarding the density and requirements that would be necessary for that. Item number 19, per Article 5-201 D6 of the zoning ordinance, Calvert County zoning ordinance, fencing and additional buffering may be required along common boundaries with farms, parcels that are assessed as agricultural uses or agricultural preservation districts and the development. At this time, parcels 99 and 101, which you can see just to the northeast section of the preliminary, if you can see my little arrow on here, it's to the right of the residue. They are both assessed as agricultural uses. They are adjacent to just the residue at this time. So at this time, staff is not making any requirements. If there is any fencing or additional buffering, that will be addressed at the time of development for the residue. The natural features already make a very good buffer from that area. Going on down to condition number 30, as I said earlier about the cemetery. This is a very lengthy paragraph that goes over who has the rights to access the cemetery, whether it's family members, a person that is doing genealogy research, what can be put around that cemetery area as far as a fence or a wall. Regardless, they can't block it off. They have to have a gate or allow people in there. My understanding is there's a very nice fence, fairly new, that is currently there. Like I said, there is family that is taking care of this area. But all of these conditions in item number 30 will be noted on the final plat. So the next steps, after there are any questions for the Planning Commission, would be to approve with the conditions as listed above, as recommended by staff, to approve with modifications to those conditions that are recommended by staff, a deferral if the Planning Commission requires additional information prior to action, or denial of the project. I will turn this over to the commissioners. If you have any questions that I can answer, I'll be happy to. I do know that the engineer, John Olaf with COA, is on the line, and I do believe there's a representative for the developer as well.
Olivia, thank you very much. And thanks for making sure that or at least informing us that the cemetery and gravesite was taken care of. I know it was a point of concern last time, but it sounds like it's mitigated. So thank you for that information. Commissioners, do I have any questions?
I have a comment I'd like to, for the record, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Regarding the cemetery, I'd like for the record, it be noted that this cemetery holds the remains of Calvert County native that fought in the Revolutionary War.
Commissioner, thank you very much for that information.
Very interesting information. Thank you.
Any other comments? Let me back up. I can't even let this go. Commissioner Freeland, who do we have the name of that person?
I believe Mr. Harrison is here in the meeting. I prefer that he spoke to it if he prefers.
Mr. Harrison, are you on the line?
Yes, this is Griff Harrison. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, it's Robert Harrison, my great-great-great-grandfather. And he signed the Oath of Allegiance, which interestingly enough is still available to look at up in Annapolis. And he was a private in one of the units in the Revolutionary War. And we think maybe his father is buried there, but he also was a patriot and fought in the war, but unfortunately there's no tombstone there to signify that.
Sir, thank you. God bless your grandfather, and God bless you, and thank you very much. And
well, I won't take up too much of your time, but we have been talking to some people in Annapolis, and one of the folks is head of the Sons of the American Revolution, and what they're going to do at some point is have a ceremony with the folks in Revolutionary War Guard, the muskets and everything, and put a bronze plaque there over his grave. We don't know when that's going to happen, but it's in the mill anyway.
Well, that's
all I got to say.
Okay, thank you, sir, very much, and that's fantastic. We'll definitely follow up on that, and that's very good information. Commissioner Freeland, thanks for bringing that to our attention. I greatly appreciate that. Do we have any further public comment?
Chairman Jones, there is one hand raised by Mr. Estes.
Please let him in.
Good evening, and thank you for allowing me to speak. My question has to do
Please
with
state your name for the record, Mr. Estes.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. Sorry about that. Yeah, I'm Bob Estes. Good to see you again, Steve.
Yes, sir.
You look like you're in less black clothing today.
That's right, yeah.
The residue section up there, is it mostly that northern part plus a bit that kind of extends down to the south and east? Is that all considered residue?
So I'm not sure if you can see my arrow on the screen. Can you see the screen? Okay.
Yes, I can.
So the residue starts down here at Cox Road. It's on the very eastern portion of the property. And all of this area in here is residue. Goes back to this narrow part right here and then breaks out to all of this area in here. So it's 19 acres, a little over 19 acres that takes in all of that.
Well, that's quite a bit. So is it the sort of the south east portion of the residue that you think could potentially see development in the future?
At this time, I'm not sure what area could see the development because they have not brought anything in. As you can see, trying to cross this area right here, it is extensive wetlands, buffers, and this is done off of county topography, I believe. So when they actually get out there and survey, there could be even more extensive wetlands than what you're seeing right here. But I believe it would take quite a bit to cross from this side to get over to here. Now, could there be anything?
The slopes are steep.
Right, it's very, and very steep slopes as well. But at this point, this is how they brought the plan in, and they've got the potential to plat it as residue, come back possibly with something later That would be up to the owner at that time. And if something did come back in, unless it was a minor subdivision, which is 7 or fewer lots, it would come before the planning commission.
Oh, that's great.
I know I looked at the areas where the slopes are low enough, especially in that northern part, that it'd be very difficult to get 7 building lots up there.
Oh, I don't think that they would get that. I'm just letting you know, 7 is our minor subdivision cutoff. So when it's 8 or more lots or a public right of way, it does come before the planning commission. But anything that's done would come in the office for review and recordation.
So smaller development would still be subject to planning commission review?
No, that part is handled in-house. It's only if it goes above 7 lots or if they proposed a major or a public right of way.
Okay, thank you for the information.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Estes, does that answer your question, sir?
Yes, it does.
Okay, thank you for attending tonight. I appreciate it. Thank you, sir. Okay, I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we approve with the conditions as listed above as recommended by staff.
Motion by Commissioner Tui. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Kernan. Vice Chair Bueller,
Yes.
Commissioner Kernan,
Yes.
Commissioner Holler.
I believe you're muted, Commissioner.
Commissioner Holler, I believe you're muted, sir.
We'll do a
We'll
thumbs
get
up like we did last time.
That's okay. Commissioner Tui,
Yes.
Commissioner Williams,
Yes.
Commissioner Freeland,
Yes.
and we will get back to Commissioner Holler. That's okay. Where is Commissioner? Commissioner Holler, if you could just give me a thumbs up if it's a good or thumbs down, that would work for me. That's a thumbs up. I will take that as a yes vote. We will move on. Mr. Conover.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you very much, commissioners.
All right, commissioners, we're moving on to section 9 items for.
No, you're on mute.
Okay, all right.
Thank you, Doc. You're
cell phone.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Commissioners, we'll move on to item 9, items for discussion and action. There are 5 items under this category tonight. The first is item 9A from the Department of Parks and Recreation. It's the Program Open Space Annual Report for fiscal year 2022. Presenting tonight is Shannon Nazal, Director of Parks and Recreation. Shannon.
Good evening, Commissioners. Shannon Nazal, Director of Parks and Recreation. And this evening I have for you our Program Open Space Annual Program Plan for fiscal year 22. So the Program Open Space Annual Program is a requirement of the Maryland Department of Natural Resources and Maryland Department of Planning. Each year we're required to submit this to those entities by July 1st in order to remain eligible for program open space funds. So the program open space funds include projects for both acquisition and development projects. The annual program plan includes projects that are either currently funded in CIP or are proposed projects that may occur in the future. But if a project is not listed in the annual program plan, it is not eligible for program open space funding. So this particular item, there are 3 documents attached to your packet, and apologies for the late notice on the 3rd attachment that you just received the other day, which was the consistency with the comprehensive plan. So that document indicates whether the projects are consistent with the comprehensive plan. You also have the actual program itself, as well as project descriptions. So we work with both county agencies as well as the town of North Beach and the town of Chesapeake Beach to look at potential projects that may be used for program open space funds in the future. This year, the county has no new projects. The town of North Beach had no new projects. The town of Chesapeake Beach had a few new projects, which are highlighted on the actual program plan as new projects, as well as on the document on consistency with the comprehensive plan. So what I would ask of you this evening, if you would be able to look at the consistency with the Calvert County Comprehensive Plan as adopted in 2019, and then we will plan on bringing this to the Board of County Commissioners at their June 29th meeting for their further approval to be able to submit to the Department of Natural Resources and Department of Planning for prior to July 1st. And I will take any questions that you may have on the program plan or project descriptions.
Commissioners, do we have any questions?
Mr. Chairman, if I could.
Yes, sir.
Shannon, regarding the two overlook projects, I believe they're both submitted from the town of Chesapeake Beach.
Yes, sir.
How can we justify that an overlook is consistent with water access from the comp plan?
So when it comes to water access, I believe that the location having access to water viewing or actually getting onto the water would both be sufficient definitions of water access.
So in my definition, water access is actually gaining access to the water. Simply looking at the water, you can go down Atlantic Avenue and look at the water. That's not providing access. Kayak, canoe launch, or simply being able to walk out into the water is water access. So I would like for you to find some other area of the comp plan that these would be consistent with. I can't support them being consistent with water access.
Shannon, are you good with that? I mean, is that making sense, or?
I understand the comments. Is that a motion?
Not yet.
Okay.
Before we do that, isn't this something that the town of Chesapeake Beach submitted, Shannon?
That's correct.
I think that's a question that's probably better addressed to them. And county and the municipalities can submit projects for program open space. And at some point, Shannon and her staff can decide if it's feasible or if it's the right thing. But I'm not sure we should. It's the business of this commission to take things in and out. I'm not sure. That's what the Board of County Commissioners can do, however.
I'm not challenging the project itself.
I understand.
I'm challenging the consistency with the comp plan.
Okay.
For what it's worth, Breland, I agree with you on that topic. I agree with you on that.
This is Jen Plummer, if I could.
Go ahead, please.
So there's other items that this could be consistent with the comprehensive plan, although perhaps not the water access, but there are many other items that would make it consistent, like acquisition would protect open space, and there's others about providing a wide range of recreational opportunities. But as a kayaker, I certainly understand your question about whether you can actually use a property to access the water without jumping off a cliff.
Assisted living.
And that's where I'm going. I believe there are other areas within the comp plan that this would fall into other than water access.
It's actually water review.
We have, folks, we have some background noise somewhere. I don't know where it's coming from. If you could check your background noise, I'd appreciate it, please. Mr. Conover, do we need a motion?
I believe Director Mazzala is looking for a motion tonight.
Okay.
Sorry. Director Mazzala, did you want to go over this? You probably do it a lot better than I could.
So what we're looking for is again, we next have to take this to the Board of County Commissioners for approval. It is on the meeting agenda for the 29th, and this is due to the Department of Natural Resources and Department of Planning by July 1st. So if there are any adjustments that need to be made to any of these plans, if there is a motion to do that at this time to where we change something in the plan and it not have to come back to the Planning Commission, that would be preferred. So we're not late on turning it in and putting our program open space funds at risk.
We can do that, but I just as a point of conversation, hopefully next time we can get it a little sooner than right before the deadline. Just my 2 cents.
Understood.
With that said, Commissioner Freeland, I'm going to defer to you on this.
I got a couple more questions. Shannon, can you tell us how much is currently in the local side funding?
So we just had a little under 1 million encumbered. So there is, let me see if I can pull it up really quick. So our allocation for fiscal year 22 is $641,688. Of that, $320,844 is for development. The rest is slated for acquisition. And as far as our balance eligible for development after the encumbrances that we have done this fiscal year, there is approximately $279,000 left for park development and about $800,000 in acquisition. And per the program plan that you have, we have allocated, or we plan on applying for $150,000 for Cove Point Park, $300,000 to the Harriet Elizabeth Brown Community Center, $100,000 to Breezy Point, and $25,000 for the next land preservation and Parks and Recreation plan.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions, Commissioners? Commissioner Freeland, I'll entertain a motion if you so choose, sir.
I would move to accept the was it LPRP as presented.
Do I have a second?
This is Jenny, if I could interrupt. It's not the Land Preservation, Parks and Recreation. It's the Program Open Space Annual Program.
Thank you, Jenny.
You're welcome.
Does that, Mr. Mattingly, does that work for a motion, sir?
Yes, it does. It's fine. He can adopt the correction by Jenny.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Tui. Vice Chair Bueller.
Yes.
Commissioner Kernan.
Yes.
Commissioner Howell. We'll get there, Doc. Commissioner Tui,
Yes.
Commissioner Williams,
Yes.
Commissioner Freeland,
Yes.
and we'll get to Doc. Where is Doc at?
Say yes, you're unmuted.
Yes.
Okay, Doc, thank you very much, sir. Motion carries. Mr. Conover. Shannon, thank you very much.
Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you. Moving on to item 9B, the Prince Frederick Master Plan update. Presenting this evening is Jenny Plummer-Welger, Long Range Planner. Jenny?
Good evening, planning commissioners and guests. My name is Jenny Plummer-Welker, Long Range Planner with Calvert County Department of Planning and Zoning. This evening, I'm joined by Ruth Davis Rogers, Planner 2 with the department. You received the staff memorandum dated June 4th in advance of the meeting, and it was posted to the county's website. And let me start the screen.
It's up.
Thank you. The purpose of tonight's presentation is to provide a status report on the update process and give a brief overview of the Prince Frederick Town Center Master Plan. The draft is dated June 2021. The Planning Commission approved a 3-phase process to update the Town Center Master Plans. The Prince Frederick Plan is currently in phase 2, develop the plan. This phase includes developing the draft plan, meeting with the public, and the Planning Commission's review of the draft plan and public comments from both the public and agencies. Once the Planning Commission has reviewed the comments, the Planning Commission would proceed with preparing a recommended plan. You would take the recommended plan to a public hearing and give the public and agencies an opportunity to comment on it. At that point, you would consider the comments and then prepare an approved plan that you would then forward to the Board of County Commissioners for the board's consideration. The board will hold its own public hearing, and so it's another opportunity for the public to submit comments, either written or orally, on the proposed plan. The board at that point can adopt the plan, modify the plan, remand the plan back to the Planning Commission, or disapprove the plan. There have been numerous public meetings and surveys that have been held during phase 1 of the update. This is a list of those meetings. The first one was held in January of 2021, so pre-COVID, and the most recent one was held on March 31st. The meetings that have been held since COVID have been virtual, with a few staff being present in the courthouse and everybody else joining virtually. We have done outreach to a number of county boards, commissions, and committees, including those you see listed here: the Economic Development Advisory Commission, the Environmental Commission, the Heritage Committee, the Historic District Commission, the Prince Frederick Architectural Review Committee, and the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. Oh, and in addition, although I have not listed them, staff at the request of these groups have met with the Calvert County League of Women Voters, the American Chestnut Land Trust, the Democratic Central Committee, and the Lions Club, all at their request. The draft chapters are 11, and they are listed here. The Town Center Master Plan follows the design of the County Comprehensive Plan as far as its organization. And as noted in the memorandum, staff is, let me go back one. As noted in the memorandum, staff has been working with the other county departments and the consultant on the preparation of the draft. Jamie Kendrick, AICP certified planner with Sabra and Associates, a Mead and Hunt company, has led his company's work on helping staff, particularly with the land use chapter, the transportation chapter, also the purpose and key issues and vision. He'll also be helping us with the implementation chapter. I'd like to give special recognition to Jennifer Moreland, the director of the Community Resources Department, for her assistance in preparing that housing chapter. And then also to recognize Danita Bunchaisri, the Deputy Director of the Economic Development Department. She wrote the chapter on economic vitality. I'd also like to recognize Harry Wedower, the Chair of the Heritage Committee, for his assistance with the Heritage chapter, basing work on what Kirsti Unila, our retired planner, had done. Our historic preservation planner, she helped with that chapter prior to her retirement. The staff has worked with other departments and agencies, including Parks and Recreation, Public Safety, Public Works, the Sheriff's Office, Maryland State Police, and also the Health Department. This, you've seen this slide before. Mr. Kendrick presented it to you at your March meeting. It is the recommended land use plan. And of note, there is the different types of land uses. I'm not going to go into detail this evening since you've seen it before, but it mentions about capping the amount of dwelling units per acre at 14, which is less than the current 24, which is allowed in the Newtown district. The Newtown and mixed-use redevelopment areas, so that would be at 14 units, and then the lighter yellow area would be a lower density of 1 to 4 units per acre in the suburban village. Notably, the draft plan recommends designating an area in the southwest quadrant of the of this area of the town center as environmental conservation area due to its significance as the headwaters of Parker's Creek, and then also the undisturbed forest that is located south of Westlake Boulevard. The next slide you have seen before also. It was presented in March to you and the public. It shows the recommended land use plan with photographic illustrations of examples of these type of land uses and their location in the town center. Next, I'd like to talk about the transportation element. With this, it shows the proposed new or improved roadway links. Mr. Kendrick presented it to you at your March meeting and the public on March 31st. I would like to thank the Prince Frederick residents who contacted the Planning Commission administrator and the director of the department to raise concerns about what the text said. There was an action item that said that the extension of West Dares Beach Road would, there would be a connection between that extension and Stokely Road through the Hunters Ridge subdivision. That is a discrepancy between the map and the action text. And so we will be deleting that text about going through the Hunters Ridge subdivision. What this map shows is that the proposed connection would actually be further east. There's some undeveloped properties between Hunters Ridge and Prince Frederick Boulevard. And the annotation on this map says, extend West Dares Beach Road and construct a new connection to Stokely Road concurrent with development. And that would be with development of those vacant parcels. So the Hunters Ridge Road staff will be removing that from the text. And then also making some modification because the text also talks about expanding the right-of-way to 60 feet. And we don't want to do that through the existing subdivisions, but any of the new proposed connector roads, we would retain the text for that. So we'll be doing clarifications in that chapter. This slide shows the other elements of the plan. So staff will be working on the environmental and natural resources chapter. We'll be including data that the Environmental Commission was interested in, which was the amount of forest cover, or actually tree canopy. And then also the Environmental Commission was interested in the amount of impervious surface. And so that has already been incorporated in the water resources. Staff will be continuing to work on chapter 10, which is the government and community facilities, which will include references to recreation and specifically to the new Harriet Elizabeth Brown Community Center. The implementation section is basically a compilation of the objectives, goals, and actions from the other chapters with the addition of identifying timeframes whether the particular action is ongoing, short, medium, or long range. And then finally, the next steps. Staff is recommending that the Planning Commission review the draft plan and that we will complete the draft plan and distribute it for public comment and then set up public meetings. Public comments will be submitted to the Planning Commission for consideration. And then at that point, we'll proceed with the third phase of the plan. I would like to encourage people who are interested in the Prince Frederick Town Center Master Plan Update, if they have not already, to sign up to receive news flashes. They can do that through the Notify Me section in the county's website. People can follow us on Facebook. Our events and meetings are posted there. And then, of course, they can check the county's website. We have a special section on Prince Frederick. At this point, I'd like to circle back to the previous slide. This concludes my presentation, and I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Any questions from any planning commissioner? Jenny, thank you. Good job. I know there's some concern about a roadway. Do we have any hands up? Does anyone want to make public comment today? This is just for information purposes today. It's just updating us. There'll be further discussion about this, but do we have any hands raised? Mr. Conner, can you tell me?
Chairman Jones, we do have one hand raised by Mr. Estes.
Please let Mr. Estes in.
Thank you once again. I know I'm a frequent flyer here, but I am a concerned citizen and I am paying attention.
Mr. Estes, if you can please introduce yourself.
I did it again, didn't I? Sorry, Christine. This
That's
is Bob
okay.
Estes. I note that there are numerous extensions of West Ayers Beach Road proposed. And if I'm quite familiar with the land just off of that, it goes right, I'm assuming it would go right past the senior center. That land is very steep and very fragile. I was wondering if one might consider Radio Road instead, which goes across less fragile, or not Radio Road, it's Radio Drive, sorry. I just like the alliteration. But anyway, that's an area that's nowhere near as steep, already has a dirt road on it. So my comment is basically that maybe that should be considered. Currently, that road goes near or around the Calvert Hills development. Hoping that you all would consider that. And by the way, bravo for not destroying Hunter's Ridge. And that's the extent of my comments so far.
Thank you, Mr. Estes. I appreciate it. Any other hands up?
No more hands, Commissioner.
Mr. Conover, I'll turn the floor over to you, sir.
Chairman Jones, there is one more hand up by Mr. Green.
Oh, new one. Yep.
Okay, Mr. Green.
Hi, my name is Kyle Green. I am a resident of Hunter's Ridge. So first off, I'm happy that that it seems that we are going to change the language of that. But at the same time, I guess my concern is I just don't understand how running a road through College Station, a large subdivision, and through a school zone, Barstow Elementary, is going to benefit anyone getting north of Prince Frederick. If they're coming off of 231 and they have to go through a school zone, through a neighborhood, and then presumably whatever the rest of the Prince Frederick Master Plan build out is east of Hunter's Ridge. I just don't understand how that is the best option available when I feel as though people coming north on 231 could just as easily go Barstow Road to Stokely Road. There's one stop sign, and yes, it may be distance-wise longer, but at the same time, it's there. So I guess that's my comment.
Thank you, Mr. Green, and we hear you. We have a lot of work to do. Again, this is for information purposes tonight, but we certainly, all the commissioners appreciate your comments. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Jones, this is Jenny.
Yeah.
If I could just briefly note that those connector roads are not intended to get people north of Prince Frederick Town Center, but actually make a connection between those residential areas and the college into Prince Frederick. Connecting up to Prince Frederick Boulevard would allow access to the retail areas, to the library, and to the aquatic center. So it's not meant to be like a bypass of Prince Frederick, but more of a connection of those communities into the rest of Prince Frederick. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. Thank you very much. Mr. Conover, I'm going to turn the floor over to you, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner. The next item is item 9C, the 2020 Maryland Department of Planning Report. Presenting tonight along with myself is Judy Holt, and I'll turn it over to Judy.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm going to share a screen here.
Little difficult to hear you, Judy.
Can everyone see the screen?
Yes, Judy.
Yes, Judy.
Thank you. Is this better? A little better?
A little better, yep, thank you.
Great. Good evening, Commissioners. Judy Holt, Planner 2 with Planning and Zoning. This is a presentation of the 2020 Maryland Department of Planning's annual report. Assisting me tonight with this would be Paul Conover, and Paul's going to start us off. So, Paul.
Thank you, Judy. Commissioners, Title 1-200 of the Land Use Article of the Annotated Code of Maryland requires that the local planning commissions prepare, adopt, and file an annual report with the Maryland Department of Planning. In addition, it requires that the annual report be made available to the legislative body of the governmental entity so that informed direction can be given for the future needs of development and appropriate and necessary studies possibly be enacted. One note before we move on, this report does not include a letter from the Board of Education. In a conversation with the Maryland Department of Planning staff on June 15th, we learned that the need for the letter is a request and not a requirement. And staff from the Maryland Department of Planning reiterated that this letter may not be appropriate for each reporting jurisdiction throughout the state and is not necessary for Calvert County at this time. In addition, past Planning Commission comments on adequate public facilities information have been noted in the cover letter to of the report to the state. And I will now turn the presentation back over to Judy, who will cover the 6 sections contained within the report. Judy?
Thank you, Paul. We'll start with section 1, which reflects the residential permits issued in 2020, which is a total of 333. 86 are within the priority funding area and 247 are outside the priority funding area. This is a decrease of about 209 permits from 2019, where we had 542 residential permits, and I would imagine that's due to the pandemic. Section 2 includes information regarding amendments and growth-related changes in development patterns. The requested information includes text and map amendments. Also, projects that affect growth and impact the priority funding area. It is determined whether the projects are consistent with the comprehensive plan and other department plans. The projects are taken directly from the capital improvements project list. This information is found on pages 2 through 16 of the report. A typo was discovered on pages 9 to 10 in the table D heading, where we removed a row number 3 from the heading. So you will see that in that report. Section 3, the development capacity analysis information consists of the maximum development capacity potential in Calvert County, Maryland. The numbers are divided into those properties located in the priority funding area and outside the priority funding area. Section 4 provides information on the agricultural land preservation and local land use. I see a typo in there right now, so I apologize for that. I don't believe it's in the report. Land preservation and local land use goals. In 2020, we had no new easements. However, 2 existing easements added a total of approximately 160 acres to land preservation. Section 5 is measures and indicators. This information reflects the amount of residential and commercial growth inside and outside the priority funding area. This data is obtained from the minor and major subdivisions and Category 1 and Category 2 site plans approved in the year 2020. This information was taken directly from the Planning Commission Administrator's annual report, which was presented last month. Similar to Section 2, a typo was discovered in Table 4, line 6, where a row number 3 was removed from that line item as well. Section 6 is regarding the adequate public facility ordinance restriction. We have one school reporting above the state rate capacity at the close of 2020, and that is Mount Harmony Elementary School. And as Paul mentioned earlier, there was no letter provided to us by the Board of Education this year. Section 7 is an optional question in the report, and I do not have a slide here for it. It pertains to whether or not we have a bicycle and pedestrian plan. There is no slide included. Like I said, Maryland State announced available grants to Maryland counties for bicycle safety and access improvements. Mayor Blake Wallace has included an update in the report regarding our utilization of the funds. So the next steps we have will be that the Planning Commission may choose to take one of the following actions, and that would be adopt the 2020 annual report as presented and direct staff to send the report to Maryland Department of Planning and a copy to the Board of County Commissioners. Next would be adopt the 2020 annual report with minor modifications and direct staff to send the report to Maryland Department of Planning and a copy to the board. Because of the minor changes that were made, and I mentioned to you in the presentation, that it probably would be an appropriate action to, number 2 would be appropriate action to move forward with. The last step would be to direct staff to make specified changes and bring back the 2020 annual report for reconsideration at the next Planning Commission meeting. So, Commissioner, if you have any questions or anyone can take an action at this time.
So Judy, it sounds like our best option is option 2 because there needs to be minor changes, correct?
The ones that I brought up during the presentation, and that would include the letter, the draft letter to the BOCC, where we'll change that to the correct president at the time.
Thank you, Judy. Commissioners, any questions? I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt the draft Calvert County State annual report with minor modifications and corrections of typos, and direct staff to send the report to the Maryland Department of Planning and send a copy to the Board of County Commissioners.
Well done, sir. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Kernan, a second by Commissioner Freeland. Vice Chair Bueller.
Yes.
Commissioner Kernan.
Yes.
Commissioner Howard.
Yes.
Tui.
Yes.
Commissioner Williams.
Yes.
Commissioner Freeland.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you very much, Judy Holt. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner.
Mr. Conover.
Thank you. Hold on one second, Commissioners. Apologize. Commissioners, the next item is item 9D, Planning Commission operating documents. Tonight we'll be discussing the bylaws and rules and procedure, and I will be the one presenting. Just one second, I will share my screen here. Just let me know when you can see it.
Yeah, we can see it, Paul.
Okay, thank you. So, Commissioners, back in May when we had the annual report for the Planning Commission, one of the items that we discussed was reviewing the bylaws and rules of procedure during the June meeting, which is tonight. The bylaws were last amended in 2018, and the rules and procedures were last amended in 2014. At this time, I'm asking for any comment and feedback from the Commission on both documents. And after this step, the process of amending the operating documents can move forward. This will not be the last time the Commission sees this item. After tonight, and if there's any changes that need to be made, and there are minor modifications that I have seen, There's a 30-day notice period prior to it coming back to the Planning Commission for final review and adoption. So if you'd like, I can go through each individually or entertain any questions you may have.
Mr. Connor, it would be my recommendation. I mean, I know the commissioners have read it. I don't know that we need to go through each one.
That's fine.
My question to the commissioners is, do we have any questions about the bylaws?
And Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Conover, Article 8, last line. I believe that should read the Board of Calvert County Commissioners is required.
That, sir?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
Any other comments? Mr. Conover, what do you need from us now, sir?
I don't necessarily need a motion tonight. I can make the corrections if you guys are comfortable with this and bring it back for final review and action after the notification period.
Paul, in the interim, if something comes up between now and the next meeting, can we send those changes to you? Is that appropriate? Do we have to wait to the next meeting to make any other changes?
I can add them into the final review, which the public will have 30 days to review. And also the Planning Commission, again, will have it during a public hearing for the public to comment on. So I believe it'll be appropriate.
Okay, thank you, sir. I'm satisfied.
Okay. Then if you're okay, I'll just move on to the next item.
Yes, sir.
Okay. The next item is item 9E. It's a discussion on returning to live meetings. Before I begin, just one of the things I'd like to comment on and ask the Planning Commission to do is consider 4 items for discussion tonight. The first being returning to in-person meetings. The second is when to return to in-person meetings, where those in-person meetings would be, and also discuss the possibility of having a hybrid option where there are live in-person meetings with virtual thrown in. Now, at this time, we have reservations over at the Heb Center. There has been a water leak over the weekend, which has delayed the installation of any electronic equipment that would enable the Planning Commission to easily move into the Heb for live meetings if the Planning Commission chose to do so. In discussion with CMR and TS staff with the county, they're believing that August would be their earliest and the most comfortable date if the Planning Commission chooses to move to the center for those meetings. There is another facility that is possibly available at the newly acquired county property at 100 Skipjack Road. It is a facility that CMR is putting together for purposes of holding public hearings and meetings. The Heb Center is not bound under the same, I would say, regulations for COVID regulations like regular county buildings are, and therefore it is open to full capacity if the Planning Commission wants to go back there, and it is 65 persons in total, and that also includes planning department staff and planning commissioners. The facility over the Skipjack location can hold 45 in total. And with that, I'll just turn it over to you, Commissioner Jones, to begin the discussion.
Okay, so this is, I've gotten a lot of phone calls, I shouldn't say a lot, but several phone calls from several people asking why we haven't gone live. So one of the things that I found out was, one, a lot of the equipment was taken out of the, what do you call it, Paul? The Heb? What do you call it? The Harriet Brown? What do you use?
Yes. The Harriet E. Brown.
Okay, so all the equipment was taken out of there, so it's going to take some time to get that equipment back in there. So it's not a matter of us not wanting to do it. Technically, we really can't do it. That's the first thing. The second thing is, I guess, it sounds like we have an option to go back to the Heb where we were at. But I guess my question, I'll put this back on you. What is the long-term goal of the commission. Are we going to spend the rest of our time in that building, or are we going to be transferred to a different building moving forward? Because I guess what I don't want to see happen is a short-term fix where we're spending county money and then going somewhere else a month later. So I guess that's what I'm getting at. And Paul, is there anyone that can answer that? I guess Mary Beth maybe. I think Mary Beth is on the line, so maybe she can answer that.
She is here. I don't know if she can answer it, but I'll let Mary Beth speak for herself.
Thank you, Director. Thank you, ma'am.
Mary Beth Cook, can you hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I would believe that the Harriet Brown not only is used by the Planning Commission, but it's used by other boards and commissions. And so I think that would be a good long, short-term option. They are working on the new county administration building, which is expected to take at least 3 years. So it would be then, once the county administrative building is built, there'll be a new hearing room in there, and we would have the option to hold planning commission meetings there. So I do think, 3 years is a pretty long time, but they won't just be fitting it out for you. It would be for any public meeting that we want to hold in that building.
And I'm just asking this question to ask the question: do we have the option of Skipjack Road, or is it the HEB is what we really need to focus on?
No, you have the option of both. I don't know that we have a date for the Skipjack Road facility.
That is correct. That's correct, Director.
And so we do have a date for the HEB, but the Skipjack Road would also be temporary because there are some county offices located down there.
Yes, ma'am.
Now,
And what is the time frame of when the HEB will be operational for us again?
Commissioner.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Mary, go ahead.
Yeah, I believe it's your August meeting.
Okay.
August 18th, sir.
Okay, so commissioners, that's one. Okay, so it sounds like that's kind of where we can take a vote on it, commissioners. I don't want to take any oversight away from any of you, but it sounds to me like that's kind of the direction we should head in. It just makes the most sense at this point. With that said, the other question that's come up in my mind is a lot of bad has come out of COVID, but some good. I'm the type of person that I guess the glass is half full when I need it to be. And so one of the good things that came out is I've noticed that we've had a lot more participation in the meetings. We've had a lot more public input and participation, and that's because of Zoom. So one of the things that I wanted to proffer to the board was having a hybrid meeting. And to me, it creates a few things. It creates the ability for more people to be involved, but it also possibly, if it doesn't violate the bylaws, and Mr. Mattingly will let us know that perhaps we could attend a meeting if somebody has a family emergency or can't attend a meeting, that we can attend a meeting via Zoom. And Mr. Mattingly, maybe you can speak to that.
Whatever procedural hurdles there may be, it's something that we can certainly clean up. Presently, as far as a commissioner member attending remotely while the rest are not, probably isn't covered under our bylaws now, but that's certainly something that can be addressed, especially since we're actually redoing these bylaws now. Amending our bylaws is, as the board members have probably noticed, isn't that onerous of a process. So if it's something that the board wants to see, obviously we can have staff generate a few different options based on other boards and other jurisdictions that have done this. And that's something that we can place in front of the board for discussion. And by board, obviously, I mean the Planning Commission.
Thank you, Mr. Mattingly. And lastly, one of the things that just popped in my mind as we started talking about this is I don't know everyone's medical condition, their situation. COVID could be gone forever. It could come up. So who knows how that's going to turn out, right? So when I say hybrid, I want to give the Planning Commission members the option to still perform their duties remotely if that's what you need to do. I think that's fair to the board members. You know, everyone has different medical histories and different backgrounds, and I want to at least. And I'm not being I guess it's not my oversight. This is a vote that we'll take together, but that's what's on my mind. I feel like if we do a hybrid, then we can include more people through Zoom. People can participate through Zoom, but we would do it in person. There would be a room for a citizen that wants to come in to sit in front of us if there's public comment, that they can do that in person, but they also have the ability to do it via Zoom. My 2 cents, but I'm open to conversation. I'll shut up now.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for allowing yourself to shut up and give the rest of us an opportunity to speak to this. I am in favor of returning at some point. August sounds like it would be a good time, but with the option of the hybrid being something both for the public as well as for those commissioners who may need it from time to time. None of us knows what this fall is going to present in terms of the pandemic, especially with, as every news article says, there's a new variant coming out or there's a new variant on the way. So I would like to have that as an option, that if things go south on us, that we could at some point decide to let's scale it back a little bit, just to protect the persons who have to attend these meetings, both commissioners as well as the public.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other comments?
Mr. Chairman, I agree with Mr. Kernan. As I recall from some previous position, that the interim Harriet Elizabeth Brown has some of the best connectivity of any county facility that we have. And that would be the perfect spot to offer a hybrid meeting venue.
Okay. Commissioner Tui, any comments, sir?
I'm ready to go back anytime now. I'm getting a little lonely here. But the hybrid system does sound good to me, because I know there are people that are still going to struggle with this.
Okay. Commissioner Williams?
I'm with Greg and yourself with the hybrid. I think that is a good alternative for those that need to exercise that.
Vice Chair Bueller?
I agree with what everybody else has said. I think Harriet Brown Center is the best place for us to be. August sounds good, and I think hybrid brings a lot of public participation.
Thank you, Maria. Commissioner Holler?
Yes, yes, I agree with the hybrid, and also moving to the regular meeting site in August.
Okay, I think we've made a decision, Mr. Conover and Director. I think that's the direct direction we'd like to head in.
Okay, thank you, commissioners. And I got that noted. And the hybrid option is noted in the bylaws as being able to appear electronically. So we can work on the wording on that to make it a little bit clearer if we need to.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, commissioners. Moving on then to
Mr. Conover?
Yes.
This is the clerk, Becky. So I want to clarify that July's meeting will be virtual.
That is correct. August 18th is going to be the first in-person / hybrid meeting.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Moving on to item 10, items of interest. First item up tonight is item 10A, Dunkirk Town Center Master Plan Update. Presenting tonight will be Ruth David Rogers. Ruth?
Hello. Good evening, Planning Commissioners. My name is Ruth Davis Rogers, and I'm a planner too in long range planning. With me this evening is Jenny Plummer Welker. You received a memo in your packet about the Dunkirk Town Center Master Plan Update. And this evening, I'd like to give you a brief presentation on where we are at with this update at this time. Next. As you know, you've seen this slide before. We have on our master plan update process 3 phases: identifying issues, developing the plan, and the adoption. Currently in the Dunkirk Town Center Master Plan Update, we are in the first phase of identifying issues, and we are working on community outreach. Next. So far with our community outreach, what we've had a few public meetings, actually 2. May 11th was our liaison meeting. In that meeting, we had community groups identify a liaison who then are representing these groups such as churches, nonprofits, local community groups like the Moms of Northern Calvert, and subdivisions, as well as some of the different groups through the county, such as the Historic Preservation Group, and anyway, different groups. So we had that meeting. On June 2nd, we did have a kickoff meeting. That meeting, speaking of virtual meetings, we had over 800 people attend virtually. Following that meeting, right now we're working on the next meeting for hopefully the second week of July. And at that meeting, we're going to look at, we have 2 surveys going. I'll talk about that in a minute. We'll look at the results from those surveys, as well as have a focus area workshop. Next. Another form of public outreach we've had is some informational videos. One, we talked a little bit about this last month. One video has already gone out, and it talked about Dunkirk's origins. That video has been very popular. We've had over 1,200, about 1,200 views. I think it's higher than that now because it's been a couple weeks since I've heard the results. We do have another one in the works that we're hoping to release on the first half of July, and it'll be another informational video. Once we identify areas of concern, we'll have a couple videos come out on those as well. Next. We do have 2 surveys open at the moment. One survey is a written survey. It's online, as well as if somebody doesn't want to do it online, we have it in hard copy and paper format that they can pick up from the library and fill out and mail in. That one, like I mentioned, is identifying the areas of concern that people have for Dunkirk. The other one is a little bit fun. It's a photo survey. We're hoping that families get involved with this. And in this survey, people can take 10 pictures total, 5 pictures of what they like about Dunkirk and 5 pictures of what they don't like. And we will be going over the results from both of these at our meeting in July. These surveys are open through June 21st. So if you haven't participated in them, you still have time. Next. And again, once we know more about the July meeting and we have a definite date, it will be the week of July 12th, we think. We're not sure of the exact date yet. We're trying to narrow that down. That information will be available at the website, on Facebook. And of course, if you do go to the website and you click on the Notify Me button, you'll be notified of when we have all these meetings. And you don't have to worry about missing anything. And so that's my presentation for tonight. Thank you very much. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Commissioners, any questions of Ruth? Thank you, Ruth. No questions, Mr. Conover.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. The next item on the agenda is item 10B. It's the October 26th and 27th, 2021 Maryland Planning Commission Association 38th Annual Conference in Solomons, Maryland. This is the conference that Steve and I are helping to organize this year. There was a save the date flyer that was distributed. We can handle any reservations, registrations if you would like to attend. Please just let the clerk of the Planning Commission, Becky Parkinson, know. This won't be the last time that you'll see this. We're looking for as much attendance as we can. Steve, did you have anything you wanted to talk about?
Of course, we're representing Calvert County. We're hosting it here. Of course, I'd like to see, good representation by the board. That would mean a lot to me and to the county, I think. And so I think it's going to be a good event. Mr. Conner, the only thing that we probably need to start drilling down on is where are we going to have to teach in this? Have we drilled down on that very far yet?
No, what we're doing is we're teaming up with Chesapeake Beach and North Beach, some of their planning commissioners or possibly some elected officials or other appointed officials to come up with some topic and have that presented on the second day for about an hour, hour and a half. I just was in communication with some of the representatives up there today. We're looking to set up a meeting in the next 2 weeks to start discussing what topic we'd like to cover.
Okay.
But you are right, we are going to do an educational session, and we are looking for citizen planners, which in this case would be planning commissioners, to help present.
Yeah, so I guess what I'm asking of the commissioners is keep that in your mind. I guess, Greg, I hope you're feeling good, because I'm going to tap you on the shoulder at some point. We're going to need some help from you. So, and anyone else that's interested in participating in that, please, let us know. I want everybody to get out of this what you can get out of it, because it's going to be a rare opportunity for us. And I need to say publicly to Mr. Conover, you went above and beyond your work hours, helping get this done. So thank you for everything that you're doing. I appreciate it. So,
thank you too.
That's all I have. That's all I have. So.
All right, if there isn't anything more, I'll move on to item 10C, site plan applications. Are there any comments or questions on those? Hearing none, moving on to item 10D, subdivision applications. Any comments or questions? All right, Commissioner Jones, item 11, adjournment.
Commissioners, thank you for tonight. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
The three of you. I'll take Commissioner Kernan. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Tui. Vice Chair Bueller.
Yes.
Commissioner Kernan.
Yes.
Mr. Holler.
Yes.
Tui.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Commissioner Freeland.
Yes.
Motion carries. God bless you all. Have a good night. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Have a nice evening.